What's going on, everybody? My name's Liam, and I pick fights. Welcome to another episode of the show. Today, we are going to be breaking down UFC 258, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. It's the UFC Welterweight Championship. It's on the line tomorrow night. Should be a great fight. I'm really looking forward to it, guys. And I wanted to break down this card for you, let you know where my betting action is going to be, how I plan on attacking the board for the main event, where I'm going to be looking for other value spots throughout the card, and I'm happy to share all that with you guys. But before we get started, if I could ask everybody watching this video to please like this video, to please subscribe to this channel, Liam Picks Fights. It's a new channel. We could use your support. Guys, what I want to tell you is that there's more content coming from this channel. Teaser, Sunday. You can expect another video from me breaking down a bet that I have for the upcoming UFC Curtis Blades versus Derek Lewis fight. That's next Saturday in the UFC. And I'm going to be breaking down a bet that I have from that card on Sunday on this channel. So, guys, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn on the bell for notifications if you want to, because I'm going to be dropping content, breaking down these bets for you, making sure that you know how to responsibly steward your action for these cards if you plan on investing in MMA gambling. So, guys, also want to let everybody know, gamble legal, gamble responsible, gamble at your own risk. Make sure that anytime you're doing this, it's for fun. So it should be an enjoyable process. Keep that in mind. Now, guys, this is what I want to tell you about the card. I have action. I'm betting on the main event, but I'm not taking a tremendous amount of action on this card. I'm not going all in on any one play, because I think that this is a little bit tricky from a betting perspective. I think that this card has some value spots, but I think that there are fewer and farther between. And I think that you kind of got to read between the lines a little bit here for the right plays and where you should put your money, where you should trust your investment on the card. And guys, also keep in mind, these are marathon bets, all right? So we're trying to do well over a course of time, and we're trying to find value over time. We're trying to bet lines that make sense, and we're never just betting on an outcome, because betting on outcomes will break your heart. We're trying to bet on value spots so we have a return on our investment over time, and that's what we're looking to do. So in the main event, what is the action that I have decided to take? I'm happy to share with you now that I have 1 unit as a prop bet on Kamaru Usman by decision, plus 105. What other action do I have on the main event? You're saying, Liam, you haven't even broken down the first action. Well, they play off each other, so I'm going to explain both. 1.25 units over 4.5 rounds, minus 145. Okay, so those are 2 bets totaling 2.25 units of exposure on over 4.5 and Kamaru Usman to win by decision. Why did I stack those 2 wagers on top of each other? I believe that Kamaru Usman is one of the most dominant fighters in UFC history. I believe that the stats back that up. I believe that his resume in terms of quality wins is impeccable. He has wins over the likes of Sean Strickland, Leon Edwards, Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. He's done it all. Kamaru Usman is a gamer. He is a game night performer. He does not just win decisions, he wins them dominantly. And I expect Kamaru Usman in this matchup to be longer. He's got the reach advantage. He has a height advantage. I expect him to have more control time in the clinch. I expect him to be the bigger, more imposing physically of the 2 men. I expect that he will have more volume, more output, more activity. I expect that he will hit harder. Now, Gilbert Burns has some distinct advantages in this contest. He has speed as an advantage. His submission game is superior, in my view, to Kamaru's. However, I believe Kamaru has excellent submission defense. I believe that Kamaru is one of the most durable fighters in welterweight history. So I think that this is a tricky fight. I think that it's not necessarily going to look as clean as a lot of Kamaru fights, because this is a teammate. This is somebody he has a lot of familiarity with. This is somebody he's sparred over 200 rounds with. So I expect in this fight Kamaru to control clinch positions. I expect him to outwork Gilbert Burns at distance. I expect the stand-up to be competitive but favor Kamaru. I expect the clinch to be somewhat competitive but largely to favor Kamaru, especially along the cage, where Gilbert has shown in the Alexei Kunchenko fight and in the Gunnar Nelson fight that he's willing to put his back against the cage and look for a referee's separation rather than to work out of the position. And I think if you do that against somebody like Kamaru Usman, you're going to find yourself spending several minutes of a round pushed up against the cage, unable to work, unable to make things happen, unable to get space. And I think that in order for Gilbert Burns to win this fight, he's going to have to land big shots. He's going to have to take Kamaru off his game. He's going to have to get Kamaru to back up, which he does not do. He is going to have to find a way to stay off the cage, which he historically has not done consistently in his fights. And so I think that while Gilbert has interesting tools and weapons in this fight, including a low calf kick that's very dangerous, he pairs that nicely with a left hook. I think that Gilbert has good tools. I think that he's very good at hooking off the jab. And we know that Usman is a reliable jabber out of both stances. But I think that Usman is going to overwhelm him over time with volume, pressure, output, and pace. And I think that if Gilbert Burns has shown anything in his UFC career, it's that when he's in a high-paced fight, he has a liability to slow down and to reserve a little bit and to keep a little gas in the tank. And I think he'll need to do that to survive 5 rounds with Kamaru. And so I think that early on, we'll see Gilbert fighting in his explosive fashion. And I think that as the rounds dwindle on, he'll have less energy, he'll have less confidence, and he'll be forced to revert back to some of his old habits and tendencies, which include putting himself back against the cage when he needs to be working off of the cage and working back to positions where he can strike and work from the open. And so I believe that the person with a better round-winning strategy for this fight is Kamaru Usman. And full disclosure, I was able to bet Kamaru Usman in his last fight against George Masvidal at -160. Kamaru Usman to win by decision. And that bet cashed very easily for me, guys. It looked like a very safe bet in retrospect. And I think that anytime you can get a Kamaru Usman decision at plus money, you're almost obligated to take it. I say that because Kamaru Usman is 12-0 in the UFC. He's never lost. And he has 9 decision victories. I think that he's only had 1 fight in the UFC, a knockout win over Sergio Moraes, where he didn't cover the over. So Kamaru Usman is a fighter that tends to go long, but he's thorough and he does his work. And I think that over time he will wear out and eventually take the life out of Gilbert Burns and win a 5-round drubbing, not unlike the fights that he's had in the past. I think that this will be more competitive, like I said, because they're sparring partners. But overall, I favor Kamaru. I favor him physically. I favor him technically. And I think that Kamaru is going to find a way to gas out Gilbert Burns and get a decision victory. So I'm backing Kamaru Usman in the main event. I would encourage you, if you want to play Gilbert Burns, the value here is on Gilbert Burns inside the distance at plus 350. The value here is on Gilbert Burns by knockout plus 600. Submission plus 550. There might be a little value on that. I mean, granted, Kamaru Usman's only career loss is by submission, but I just have a feeling that Kamaru's conservative approach to grappling Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu aces will keep him safe in this contest unless he gets clubbed and subbed. And like I said, I think that Kamaru's durability is a big factor here. I think he's the more durable of the 2 athletes, and it's more likely that he would finish Gilbert than Gilbert would finish him, though I believe Gilbert's best path to victory and most likely path to victory is a finish. So if you're backing Gilbert, back Gilbert at that plus 375 look as opposed to the plus money on the money line. that's one man's take. If you want to take Gilbert on the money line, by all means, but I think that the money line is going to look accurate in retrospect. So moving on, I have a little bit more action on this card. Again, not a heavy action night for me. I think that this is a little bit tricky in terms of a UFC card to bet, but my best attribute in the past has been picking fights straight up, just money line wagers, and so I only have one money line wager on this card. It is Maycee Barber at plus 105, and the reason I have a 1 unit stab on Maycee Barber at this price, guys, is Maycee Barber opened for this contest at minus 130, and I view Maycee Barber as around a minus 150 favorite in this fight against Alexa Grasso. I think that she has the physical gifts and advantages. I think that she has the long-term upside. I think that her power is unlike many offerings at the women's divisions. I mean, there's very few women that are capable of stringing together knockout finish victories in the way that Maycee Barber has been able to. And I think that Maycee's loss to Roxanne Modafferi is the right kind of prospect loss. I think it was a humbling experience. I think that it brought her back to the drawing board. I think that it wasn't a fight in which she sustained a ton of damage. I think that she should be feeling good coming back from her reparative surgery. I think that she's young enough to make a full career recovery. I think that in terms of the intangibles, I think that the upside here is with Maycee Barber. I think that the UFC wants Maycee Barber to win this fight. And I think that if you can get plus money on Maycee Barber, who in her last contest, I believe, went off as a minus 800, minus 900 favorite against Roxanne Modafferi. I mean, guys, that's an overcorrection. That's a market overcorrection, in my opinion. I think Alexa Grasso's good, but she's 4-3 in the UFC. I don't know that that warrants her being the favorite over Maycee Barber. And so for that reason, I'm going to take Maycee Barber, who I believe to be the bigger and more talented woman overall. So I am backing Maycee Barber. That's my only money line play. I have a couple other props and a little bit more action to disclose. But guys, real quick, I just want to let you know, all my bets, all my picks, you can find them. So I'm not just doing this off the top of my head, right? You can refer back to these at betmma.tips/LiamHeslin, where you can find all my plays tracked third party. And I've been doing this for a while now, so you can look back and see my record over time, including last week where we were able to get a big profitable night. Let's take a look here. It was plus 6.4 units last week, guys. I tipped Danilo Marquez plus 200. I had 2 units on Danilo Marquez. I gave that play out on the show. That's a 4-unit profit. I hope that you guys took advantage. I hope that you guys were watching and tailing. I also gave out on that the same show, guys, Danilo Marquez inside the distance plus 375. That was able to cash. It was a half-unit bet, and it nets us almost 2 units of profit. So just on the Danilo Marquez play alone, guys, that was plus 5.87 units. So I think that the reason you should take my analysis seriously isn't because I got a pick right, because anybody can get a pick right. But if you go back and you read on betmma.tips, you can see what my analysis was, what my pick was. And I said that Danilo Marquez was likely to be aggressive, pursue single leg takedowns, force these single legs, take him to the ground. And I thought that Mike Rodriguez was liable to be submitted. That's exactly what happened, guys. And I think that if you watch enough tape, if you start paying attention to trends and certain indicators and data, as well as what you see in evidence in film, you can start to make a determination on some of these plays. I thought that I had a pretty good read on that Danilo Marquez bet. And so again, I want to encourage you guys, check out my work at betmma.tips. I provide a written rationale for every play, or for most of the plays that I make. And if I don't have one up there, I hopefully will either be providing it in this video, or I'd be happy to explain it to you if you ask me personally. So reach out to me. I'm on social media at Liam Picks Fights and at Heslin Liam on Twitter. So guys, check me out there. I host polls. I also post my picks there. So a lot of good places to find this content. Now, moving on to our next pick, guys. These are my favorite props of the night, and I'm going to give out 2 different fights that I have props on and how I think that you could attack the board. So Rodolfo Viera, Anthony Hernandez. I think that this is the kind of fight where Rodolfo Viera is very likely to come out here and get a quick submission. That's what he's known for. He's a jiu-jitsu ace. That's what he's highly capable of doing. Anthony Hernandez, on the other side, has been submitted in the past, okay? He's been submitted by the likes of Marcus Perez, who's barely hanging on as a UFC contender. Marcus Perez is really more so a regional MMA talent, and he was able to submit Anthony Hernandez, which is a huge red flag if you're fighting, again, Rodolfo Viera, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a world-class practitioner. So I think that Rodolfo Viera is very likely to win and get the submission. However, Rodolfo Viera is also minus 400 in this spot, right? That's an 80% implied indication, which I think is fair. However, we don't really want to be betting on minus 400 because that's a big outlay on our part for a very little reward. However, where is there value on this fight? I think that there might be value, and I'm certainly taking a stab at this play. Under 1.5 rounds, Rodolfo Viera, Anthony Hernandez, that's at minus 140 right now. Guys, I think that that's a really solid spot. And the reason I say that is because Anthony Hernandez has been submitted in under 1.5 rounds before, okay? Rodolfo Viera tends to submit people in under 1.5 rounds. So we have a matchup where a lot of the indicators going in would suggest that it's likely to be finished in under 1.5 rounds by submission. However, under 1.5 rounds, as opposed to betting on Viera on the money line or betting him by submission, it opens up the possibility that he gets caught cold at the beginning and knocked out by Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez is the faster, more technical striker of the two of these athletes. And so I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that Anthony Hernandez catches him early. So as a way of covering our bases and giving ourselves a larger matrix of possible outcomes that still result in us making money, that's why I'm favoring the under 1.5 rounds here. And I think that it's a good value spot. I think that there's value on that line all the way up to minus 155, minus 160, maybe even as high as minus 170 on the under 1.5 rounds. I think there's value on that line for the Anthony Hernandez and Rodolfo Viera fight. The last play that I'm going to give out for you guys, I'm going to warn you up front, this is degenerate action. This is a prop stack that I have. And the reason I'm taking this action is because Polyana Viana is about plus 120 right now on the money line in her matchup against Mallory Martin. And I favor Polyana to win. However, Polyana has won all of her fights inside the distance. She has 11 pro wins. Every one of them has come inside the distance. She has wins by submission. She has a very impressive knockout win over Amanda Hebos, another UFC contender on the regional scene. So I'm really impressed by the overall body of work of Polyana Viana and her overall ability to finish inside the distance. I'm not very impressed by Mallory Martin, okay? I think that Mallory Martin is a decent fighter, but I don't think that she is a UFC contender. I think that Mallory Martin is a fairly low-level UFC fighter. She was submitted by Viera Jandiroba. Granted, that's not a bad loss. Verna's a very good submission grappler. However, she followed up that performance with a fight with Hannah Cifers, a person who struggled a lot in the UFC. She followed it up with a fight where she got dropped badly, really, really close to being finished on the ground by Hannah Cifers. And then when she got back up to her feet, she was almost standing TKO'd several times just in that first round. And she was able to come back and win that fight. But I think it's a huge red flag. I think that Hannah Cifers doesn't really have a tremendous amount of power. I think that it might speak to a little bit of durability issues for Mallory Martin. And I think that Polyana Viana can crack. I think that she could really hurt Mallory Martin on the feet. And I think that she's also capable of submitting Mallory Martin on the ground. I think she'll have an advantage in those grounded positions. And so I am taking a 1-unit stab on plus 275 Polyana Viana inside the distance. Now, that being said, I saw some value spots on smaller props that I wanted to stack on top of that. 0.25 units, round 1 knockout, plus 2,500 for Polyana Viana. I mean, like I said, she knocked out Amanda Hebos in the first round on the regional scene. This is a girl with a lot of power. She's fighting a girl who was almost finished in the first round in her last UFC fight. And so I think for plus 2,500, I couldn't pass on that. I'm taking a very small stab, 0.25 units, but I think that could be a very lucrative payout for me, and I'm not mad at taking that risk at all. And my last wager for this fight is half a unit, round 1, Polyana Viana. She finishes inside the distance. Guys, she finishes in round 1. This girl comes out aggressive from the very outset. She's aggressive from her guard. She's aggressive from her back. She's aggressive from her feet. So I think that Polyana Viana, if she's going to win this fight, she's going to do it early. She's going to do it in devastating fashion. It's going to be by submission or it's going to be by knockout. I hope it's by knockout. That would be the most profitable. But if she gets it done in the first round, it'd be huge for me. So I'm thinking that Polyana Viana has a good chance to finish here. I think that she should be slightly favored, if not at pick-em odds. However, given the inherent advantages in terms of her finishing abilities, I'm going to go ahead and take the risk. I'm going to bet her inside the distance. I'm going to stack a couple small wagers on top of that for a total of 1.75 units exposure on Polyana Viana to win basically in the first round. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm attacking the board for UFC 258. I feel pretty good about my plays. I feel very confident coming in after a successful performance last weekend. But like I always say, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm going to be back betting again next week. And I'm excited every time I get to break down one of these cards. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate you staying with me. I hope that you enjoy the fights. I hope that you're able to make some money. If you guys decide to tail my picks, let me know, please, in the comment section below. Get at me on social media. I'd love to hear from you. If you decide to fade my picks, comment that below. That's all right. If you're taking action a different way, I want to hear about it. I want to hear from you. If you make money, if you lose money, we're in this together. So I'm trying to help you steward your financial resources safely and wisely in MMA as best you can. I'm trying to do the same myself. My name is Liam. I pick fights. I hope that you've enjoyed. God bless and enjoy the fights.